Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hanifa Shahira Freddy from International Management Class 2021. And in today's presentation, I will likely to present collecting and recording qualitative data in the study of entrepreneurship research. But the first thing that we need to know is the meaning of the qualitative data itself. So the easiest understanding about qualitative data is actually an information that cannot be counted. So it cannot be counted and it cannot be measured or expressed with number. So how can be collected? So it can be collected from text, audio, and image, and can be shared through data visualization tools like word clouds, timelines, grip database, or concept maps and infographics. So these are actually the types of the qualitative data, but the first thing that we need to know is that qualitative data only involves working with small samples, but because it's only small samples, it means that you need to find a very good quality of the qualitative data, so it can increase the trust to your participant and also to give the best result to your research as well. Because the good qualitative data is the one that is detailed, rich, and extensive. So these are the types of the qualitative data that you can have in your research. The first thing is actually the observation and participation. And the second is in-depth or semi-structured interviews. The third is focus group. And the fourth is diaries, blogs, photo collection, drawings made by research participants. So basically, they're actually divided into 4 parts. And the first thing that we need to understand more is observation and participation. And these are actually divided into 3 parts. And it's based on Robson and McCartan from 2016, where they are divided into 3 parts about approach to participation and observation. The first approach is complete participation, which means that the observer is actually a full member of organization or a group that being studied. For example, is that person is actually an employee in some kind of company, but at the same time, that company is actually being observed, and she's or he's being the one that being observed and participating in those research as well. And the second is the observer as participant. So in this observer as participant, it mainly occurs when your role as that at that position is merely to observe, but to some degree, you are unavoidably become a participant in the situation as a result of your very presence. And the three is the complete observer, which means that you have no participation in that research. I mean that you're not being observed, so you're only observing other people. So these are actually the different type of observation and participation. So these are the steps about how to prepare a very good observation. The first is that you need to clarify what you need to know. And to understand about how to clarify what you need to know, you can barely ask yourself how or this kind of question on the right of the table, which are what are your research question and what information do you require to answer them. And based from this question, you can know about, oh, I really want to research and focus on this side of question. And the second is to observe and asking about, is observation the most appropriate way of obtaining the information you need? And you can consider about the alternative ways of data gathering. And the third is about what aspect of the situation that you need to find out about. And you can know about you're interested in process or the content. And the fourth is about what time are most appropriate to carry out your observation. And you can ask yourself about, will the timing of your observation affect what you find out? And these are actually, I think, kind of crucial, because the timing is actually very, we can probably divide it into some part. If you are going to observe people like offline, maybe it's better for you to observe them by the morning or by the afternoon, because at that time is that their mind is clearly still can think about a lot of stuff, not like you're going to observe people by the night, which means that they already off from their work. So maybe the answer is not likely to be that depth or that engaged as well. But when it comes to online, maybe people like to being observed maybe at the night after they are off working, because when it comes to online, like they can do it not from their work or they can do it from their home. So this is actually depend on what kind of approach that you're taking. And the next is about the access and permission. And you know that sometimes when we want to observe some kind of company or even the employee of a company, which means that you need to take a permission from the company to doing such an observation as well. And the next is blending in. So blending in is more likely about how you behave in the middle of the people that you are observing in. And in those blending in, it can also define about what you wear, what is your gender, what is your age, and how people can behave within you. So we can take an example actually when it comes to blending in. So there's some kind of environment that is full of women. So when the observer or the people that observing them is a woman, maybe they can engage more and giving you the bestest answer when it comes to gender. So that's how blending in is actually can work. And the next is recording data. And when recording data, you can also ask about how can you record data that you observe and how the data be sufficient to enable you to form conclusions. So from recording data, sometimes people can use some part of G-form, or maybe they can record the data of the interview or something like that. And the next is the roles and responsibility. And it's more likely to be how you are going to participate as well as observe and how you can balance the demands of the both activities. And these are actually the interview types. And as we actually know in those research as well, they are kind of dividing it into qualitative and quantitative. And in qualitative, there's actually divided into two and quantitative divided into one, which means that there are basically three big types of interview. So when it comes to qualitative, it's divided into in-depth and semi-structured. With in-depth means that there are no set of questions and there are non-directive approach. So based on it, in the in-depth, we're more likely to know about someone's perspective, idea, or someone's preparation regarding some kind of issue. So it's only like following the flow or following those people perspective and knowing it more likely with more engagement and depth without any set of question. And the second is the semi-structured interview. So in the semi-structured interview, the themes and the question are known in advance, but the question and their order may vary depending on the flow of the interview. For example, like if you're asking someone if they already have the experience of teaching, maybe you can ask them like more depth interview. But if they don't have any experience, maybe you can like cut off the interview to be like a more simpler interview. So there's actually depend on the flow of the interview itself. And those two is going to the qualitative data, the data that cannot be measured, count, or cannot easily be understood by a number. But when it comes to structured interview, it's actually the part of the quantitative data when it comes to be predetermined, standardized, and us in a consistent sequence. Sometimes that in the quantitative data interview, we can also like founding something like from the scale 1 to 5, and that from that scale, maybe they can make some part of graphs to define that if the hypothesis is a proof or not. So that's actually how the interview types can work. So this is the interview design. So maybe we kind of questioning what those the meaning of interview design in here, but interview design in here is more likely about how you can arrange a topic of interview and how you can like making the design or the framework how your interview will go in. So in order to make your topic guide or interview design, there are actually the three top table at the above that can likely to help you at the end of the day. The first is the issue from literature or other source. So from other sources, you can probably asking yourself about what issue from the literature that need to be probing or to be proved. And the second is what issue are suggested from other data sources. And from that, you can likely to know about, oh, maybe I want to take a more detailed explanation and more probing from this literature review or these sources that I want to ask to those people. And the second is the research population. So in this research population, you can ask yourself about what types of people that are the interview participant and how homogeneous is your sample of interviewees. And the third is research purpose. You can also asking like, what are you setting out to find out in your project, and what are the central issue, and the third is what question must be answered. And from the three of the interview design, you can take all of them to be the part to maintain or like to be taking off of the topic guide. And the topic guide is sometimes like can also be the part of group topic in the question area. You can also check the link, and you can prioritize topic or question and arrange it into a logical sequence. And it's actually the framework how you can make a very good interview design. And this is a social media data. So there are actually a lot of people that gathering their information or observation from social media data. And there's some part of social media that being taken off for observe. It's like Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, chat rooms, discussion board, contribution to blogs, and email exchange, and etc. And it's becoming popular to accessing qualitative data due to some hard or do some physical limitation when it comes to meet people in real life. And you know that, especially we can take an example of the COVID-19, where there's a barrier or physical restriction to meet from one to another. So those social media data kind of evolving at the same time, and it's become emerging. And one way to make it easier for people to have like to gathering their data. And another advantage when it comes to social media data is that there are no time zone constraint between those people. So it means that you can share directly from one continent to other continent. We can take an example like you can send directly from Asia to America without you need to have to go to America at the same time, which is very time efficient and money efficient as well when it comes to like going to the other place that maybe need to go by plane or by those types of thing that is likely to make it harder. So that is why social media data at the same time can be very beneficial for people in terms of efficient. But at the same time, you know that when it comes to social media data, usually it comes to some part of G form or contribution to blogs or email exchange. But one thing that we need to know that when you gather some data online, sometimes the result is not likely to be rich detail like when it comes to physical. Maybe in physical you can ask them for more detailed observation and you can ask more deeply to the people. So maybe that is how social media data at the same time is not likely to be beneficial to you as well. And the next is diaries and blog. So there are actually some people that write in diary, journal, or blog, and it can be worked to be the part of data strategy because this form is something that can be a reflective record of an individual or group action over a defined period of times. And maybe you can probably wonder about how you can find some diaries or blogs. You can find it actually in internet because some people is actually writing their blogs in the internet, and that's you can how you can find your data there. And these are actually focus group. So what is actually the meaning of focus group? So it means that people gathering in a group and they are being interviewed, and the process of dialogue and discussion is going between those participants. So it's more likely that people with the same qualification uh, being done in the same group, and you're discussing and dialoguing about the issue that you want them to be discussing of. And here are mainly the advantages and disadvantages of focus group. Like the first advantage, they are cheaper because it's basically cutting the time costs, and at the same time, like you can maybe discussing with 5 people at the same time. And the second advantage is that you can interact between researcher and participant, and data can be collected in the participant own words, which means that it can like making such a deeper meaning and interpretation to that people. And in the same circumstances is that one topic can explore it, like more than one topic can explore in each session, because when it comes to discussion, sometimes that there are actually people that can popping up with another idea that can make your focus group more likely to be rich in detail and can give you more insight. And the next that we can have advantages is like snowballing ideas, which means that what is the meaning of snowballing? It's like from small and it goes bigger until it becoming bigger, and that's how like the effect bola salju can actually works, and which means that from small idea it can grow to big and bigger and huge idea, and it comes to respond to other contribution of other people in the group as well. And the participant can actually feel empowered to speak in front of the people, because people from the same interest, like they can meet together and they can speak about the discussion from one to another. And even though it has a lot of advantages, it has also disadvantages at the same time, because when it comes to focus group, like the snowballing data or the snowballing idea from those people means that the huge quantity of data make it hard to summarize and to analyze, even though at the same time you can record it, but it's very hard to summarize, because at the same time you can also like discussing about variety of topic as well. And the second is that the facilitator may influence the participant too much and affect the opinion of what kind of the thing that they express. And the third, there might be undue influence of some participant over others, like maybe they can affecting the quality of the data, because that at the same time not all of those people agree with your opinion, and they can easily influence other about if they want to like spoke up about their opinion or not. And the next is that the small number of participants, because we know that in the focus group we cannot add too much participant like to speak, so there's actually only a small number of participants, and it means that the size is limited. So this is the disadvantages. And the next is the group dynamics of the session may lead the research to attribute more significance to the data than it's actually warranted. And the next is a polarization effect may occur, where people's gratitude become more extreme as a result of group discussion. So these are the advantage and disadvantage of focus group. Thank you. It's actually the end of my presentation. Is there anyone want to ask a question, please?